John Carpenter's The Thing concerns a research facility in Antarctica that comes across an alien life force that can become anything it touches, and it's up to them to find out who's human and who's not before it's too late. The movie is essentially a collection of expertly crafted, perfectly executed scenes of horror. One of the most effective is the blood testing scene. But how did it achieve this? Well, let's discuss. First, the scene is set up. By this point in the movie, we and the characters have already experienced the horrors that this creature is capable of, and the combination of trauma and the fact that his co-workers tried to kill him has pushed McCready, played by Kurt Russell, to his boiling point. He provides the exposition as to what the blood test entails. Quite simply, if somebody's blood reacts to the heat, he is the thing. Whilst the camera tracks to the left, showing us all the subjects, all of the suspects, each holds a facial expression that gives us no clues and nobody gives any hints. In fact, it's actually the director himself who slyly tells us who the real culprit is.
We're gonna find out who's the thing.
The subtle zoom in on McCready's face creates a sense of impending doom, whilst reinforcing the importance of what he's saying, so the parameters are well defined. We can see how close all the characters are in relation to each other, what leverage McCready has over them, and what will happen if they don't cooperate. The acting is very enigmatic. Look at this from Windows. You just can't tell whether this is a man fearing for his life or an alien preparing to reveal himself. Despite the lack of music throughout the scene, in fact because of the lack of music and the silence from the characters in anticipation of the test, the tension is dialed up to 11 until a brief lapse in time, and then we breathe a sigh of relief, and then the whole process repeats itself, only this time it's worse because we know we're one step closer. Take a note of the editing. It's not uncommon for a shot in this scene to last a good 10 seconds or so, but when we get to the actual blood test, we've got 1, 2, 3 in quick succession. As the scene continues, we are shown the poor sods tied up, looking increasingly suspicious or anxious. Well, except one of course, until a guilty-looking Gary reveals his lack of faith in the test, which is quickly rebutted by McCready. Now this conversation may have been brief, but a brief conversation which breaks silence is going to be apparent, and as such it distracts us, shifts our attention away from the test itself, which makes the immediate jump scare more effective. The first half of this scene demonstrates one of the two brilliant things about this movie. The first being its ability to build up tension, as explained. The second being Rob Bottin's marvellous display of terrifying effects which need no explanation. Take nothing away from the rest of the cast and crew though. They are injecting the right dose of fear and hysteria to maintain the tone of chaos. It's difficult to tell who's screaming at this point, which again adds to the hysteria. Take note of the unnatural movements that the creature makes, which is something that I think a lot of creature features get wrong. The monster often moves too much like us, whereas here the weirdness of his movements adds to the creepiness. Going back to the classic rule of horror movies, in that most scares are in the fear of the unknown or uncertainty. Lamp smashing, characters screaming, a symphony of disorder until peace is finally restored. By now the tension has already peaked. We've already reached the limit, not to be crude, but we've already orgasmed, and the film knows this, so it doesn't bother to have any other character end up being the thing also. Eventually the scene is ended on a humorous note, with a funny line from the only remaining member tied up.
And when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
This tells us the tension is over. Now we can laugh, now we can relax. Reinforced by the scene fading to black. A perfect end to a perfect scene in a perfect movie. This structure is also apparent in several other scenes in the movie, like this one here, the famous defibrillator scene. We kick off again with the tension of characters bickering, people trying to get close to McCready to take him out, he himself threatening to set them all on fire. This distracts us from the man who moments before had collapsed, and then this happens. Now again, we get the marvellous display of practical effects, and with all the hullabaloo, and again it ends on a humorous line.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Here again, another part towards the end. It starts with dread and tension, a showcase of effects, and then ends on a one-liner. In conclusion, the blood testing scene from The Thing remains to this day a perfect example of how to expertly build tension and suspense. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.